have read more than 100 books so far this year. And I had open heart surgery this year. I think not. No. Let me take that back. I don't think. I know I'm better than you. Hi friends, welcome back to Shelby in the Book Club. I am Shelby Monet, and in today's video we're going to do my October reading wrap up. I read a total of 18 books. We are going to get right into it. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. I am trying to get to 15,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I think we can do it. I think we could do it. I just need y'all help. Y'all say y'all love it here, so why not tell the people to tell the people to tell the people, okay? Everything mentioned in this video will be linked down below in the underneath bar. Why is it called the underneath bar? Because it is underneath the video. You're getting it. You're getting it. Yes, you're getting it. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you, cousin. All right, let's get into it for real this time. If you see me looking down, it is because I'm looking at my homegirl. We call her the mini girl. This is my mini iPad. I read on her. I take notes on her. I do everything with this thing. She is my homegirl. We are one, okay? Word to Frankie Beverly and Maze. R.I.P. our uncle. Rest in peace, our uncle. Everything will be posted on the screen. Book covers, all of that. It'll all be on the screen. So, stats. Total of 18 books this month. Go me. I had a goal of at least like 14 or 15 because that was going to push me to my 100 for the year. And I surpassed that by 4. I was literally reading up until, I was about to say Thanksgiving, up until Halloween. Like, I was reading to the last minute, okay? In total, that is about 3,699 pages. I have not been rating my books, so I don't have a rating for you. But 94% of it was fiction, 6% nonfiction. My top genres, y'all could have guessed all of this: romance, erotica, fantasy, historical, and horror. 67% were digital, 22% audio, and 11% print. I want to get that print number back up. I want it to be kind of an even split between digital, audio, and print. So I want to work on that for the new year specifically. So in total, that leaves me at 105 books for the year. Like 105 books. I know I joked in the intro and said like I think I'm better. I know I'm better than you because I read 100 plus books and had open heart surgery, but I was really adamant about making my goal this year because I had surgery. I don't want the things that I love to dwindle just because my health isn't the best. I still want to be able to keep parts of me. And I say that I'm fine, right? Like, I'm good. But I don't want to just be known as, oh, I had open heart surgery this year. That's not the only thing that I accomplished this year. I didn't only survive. I kept the things that I love to do going also as well. So that was very important to me. So 105 books. And I mean, going into the rest of the year, like the last 2 months of the year, I'll still be reading. In my mind, I want to at least end the year at 120. I want to be able to do that. So we'll see what happens. You can see what I'm reading and how I read in my weekly vlogs. If you didn't know, I post one weekly vlog on Saturdays at 8 a.m. every week. So you can watch those and I kind of go into more detail. So that you're not necessarily waiting for the monthly wrap-up video every month. So these I'm actually going to do backwards. So in descending order. So I read The Deep by River Solomon. I read this because I read Model Home, which I'll talk about, by River Solomon, and it made me want to venture more into their work. I'm going to be honest with you and say that I need to read The Deep again. I listened to the audiobook, which is phenomenal. It's a good audiobook. But The Deep, no pun intended, is a very deep book. It's tiny. I was gonna reach for my copy. Oh, here it is. I ain't got a man, so it's just a pile of books where a man should be. Anyway, it's a tiny book. It's a tiny book. It won't take you long to read, but the subject matter is deep. Not necessarily in a sad way, but there's a deeper conversation that's being had. So Yetu is a mermaid, for a lack of better terms. And she is the memory keeper for her community. And the memories that she keeps are of the slaves that jumped overboard going through the Middle Passage. And it's this idea of, what if those people that jumped overboard survived and ended up having children that learn to adapt to living under the water, and so on and so forth, right? So she's responsible, and there is an event where she is to give the memories to her community so that they can remember, but they're mostly living in ignorance, right? Whereas she has all of the memories and she is feeling them very, very deeply. Like, she has experienced all of these things because of her memories, like the memories that she has, which leads to her wanting to separate herself. She goes away, she meets a human, a two-legged, a land dweller, and it's just this deeper conversation. Like, I really don't feel like I grasped all of it, and that's okay, right? You're supposed to reread books, so I plan to reread it. What I will say is that there were some, I want to say connections, but not necessarily a connection. There's a linear conversation that's happening between River Solomon's books in a similar way to how Jesmyn Ward does. Like, all of her books are about grief in some way, shape, or form. In both The Deep and Model Home, there's a conversation about, like, holding on to trauma for everyone else, for the sake of everyone else, for the greater good, and then running away and having to come back and face it eventually. So I enjoyed The Deep. I just know that I'm not understanding it the best way that I can. I want to venture into the rest of their work, so I think they only have one other book, Sorrowland, that I haven't read yet. So that's on my list eventually. Then I read Song Yet Sung by James McBride. James McBride is one of my favorite authors. Song Yet Sung is a historical fiction about Liz Spockett, who is a runaway slave, but she is also two-headed, meaning that she can see the future. She dreams the future, or dreams of tomorrow. And we go on this journey of her being a runaway, but also meeting all of these other characters and learning how they are all interconnected. James McBride is a phenomenal author. He is a very dense writer, and he's going to give you a lot of details that don't necessarily seem like they make a lot of sense in the beginning, but they do make a lot of sense, and you just got to stick with it. If you're new to James McBride, I would start with Song Yet Sung, which I believe is his first book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It made me remember why I love him so much. It wasn't my first time reading Song Yet Sung, but it felt like it was my first time reading it. Loved it. Next, Witch Trapment by ML Bash. Y'all know this is an ML Bash stan account. This was her Halloween novella for 2024. It is about a witch, a werewolf, and a vampire all walk into a bar. It is filthy. It is definitely a coochie book. There are some kinks in it that might make you a little uncomfortable, but it is worth the read. ML Bash is extremely talented, and she is the sweetest. We talked to her on my podcast. We interviewed her for the League of Extraordinary Readers, and she was just super, super awesome. So if you are still in a spooky mood, Weed Witch Trapment. It was very good, and she left us hanging. There may or may not be, excuse me, an extension to this. Maybe. Next up, The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I loved The Reformatory. The first time that I tried to read it, you guys may remember earlier this year, I attempted to read The Reformatory, and there is a particular scene that scared the mess out of me. So I put it down. And then Jess and I decided that we would read it together as a pick for the podcast. And this time around, I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was very good. It's a story of a boy named Robert who ends up in a reformatory school for boys in Graceland, Florida, which is a fictional town that Tananarive Due created. And he goes through a lot of stuff. But the horror aspect is that he can see ghosts. So he gets to the reformatory. He is experiencing all of these things that some of the other kids are not experiencing because he's seeing the ghosts and he's seeing the things that have happened to Black and brown boys throughout the years. The other scary part about the reformatory is the racism. The racism is the scary part. I think there are a lot of things that I love about the story, but when I see the demographic of people that say that they love this book, I'm wondering what all is everybody taking from it, because I haven't really seen the deeper conversation. So maybe I need to look more. Maybe y'all are taking the hard parts out of it and understanding that the scary part of the reformatory is not the ghost as much as it is how deep-rooted racism is, and how this entire town was just like, yeah, the reformatory, yeah, the reformatory. So it's a really good read if you like historical fiction. If you want to venture into horror, I think this is a good place to start. I think Tananarive Due might be a good place to start in general. Her short stories I've talked about plenty of times. The Wishing Pool is my favorite. I think that's a good introduction into horror that's not gonna like scare the hell out you, right? But it's a little spooky, it's a little creepy, you got some creatures, it's gonna get you there. So I think Tananarive Due and Victor Laval, who I've mentioned before, he wrote Lone Women, The Changeling, and some other things I'll put on the screen for you guys. He's also a good introduction to horror as well. Next, I have an erotic thriller. It is called Fucking or Loving by A. Blossom. This wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't necessarily my favorite. It's about a divorced couple who they get divorced because of infidelity, and then they end up finding each other again at a sex club where her ex-husband decides that he wants to get into BDSM, and they decide that she's gonna be his sub. Like, they have a conversation about it, and he's just like, you're the only person that I feel comfortable exploring with in this way, and you're still the only person that I'm attracted to. But the thriller aspect comes into the fact that we find out what actually happened to her, and the quote-unquote infidelity. So that's the thriller aspect. It was okay. There was some, like, I feel like a lot of men in real life use BDSM as a way to control the person that they're with when the relationship is a lot deeper than that. And I felt like in this particular, like the way that this was written, it felt like the male main character was using it as a way to get his revenge and to get his rocks off at the same time. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because I feel like people are reading these books and then wanting to go and try things, and that's not necessarily like a depiction that we want. But I have read other A. Blossom books and they were good. I just always think a little bit farther when I'm reading stuff like that, because how are people taking this in or whatever. And I believe there was a trigger warning in the beginning that was just like, this is a work of fiction, like whatever. But for a bunch of bitches that read for fun, some of y'all can't read for real, and that's anyway. Next up, Model Home by River Solomon. When I tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed, and I didn't realize how much I enjoyed Model Home until I got to the end. So it tells the story of a haunted house. We meet Esri. Esri has to go home because she's getting these weird text messages from Ghost Mother. Is it Ghost Mother or is it Monster Mother? I think it's Ghost Mother. From Ghost Mother. And not getting any like responses from her actual mother. So she has to go visit the house, and in turn she finds her parents dead. So her and their pronouns are she, them. She and her siblings, they and their siblings have to navigate what has happened to their parents, face this house, what they're going to do with it, so on and so forth. There's so many things that I could say, but I don't want to say anything because I want you to read it. I think Model Home and Sky Full of Elephants probably should be read at the same time because they are telling a similar story in opposite directions, right? Sky Full of Elephants has this underlying conversation about how if only we felt, like if only we allowed ourselves to be angry enough, then we could navigate through our trauma. Model Home is the opposite, but like it's depicting the opposite but saying the same thing. Like if only you actually let yourself feel, you could get through. But when you don't let yourself feel, you're bottling up all of this stuff, right? It's very reminiscent of Beloved to me, because Beloved is also a story of a haunted house, which is one of my favorite books. I think Model Home questions what is a home, right? There are so many different things that could be a home. Like your body is your home, your physical dwelling is your home, your family can be your home, right? And how could those things be haunted individually or as a group, right? Or as a unit. Trigger warning for sexual assault. Trigger warning for that. I sobbed. It triggered the hell out of me, but it was such a well-written book, and it's so thought-provoking. There's just so much, like, I want to read it again. I probably never will because it really triggered me really bad, and although I now know, I don't know, it'll be a long time before I pick up Model Home again. Similar to the Reformatory, Model Home is scary because of the racism. Model Home is scary because of the racism. Keep that in mind too. Next up, we have Rare Breed and Fated Breed. This is a duology by Charity Shanae. One, Rare Breed is about a human vampire who falls in love with the alpha of a werewolf pack. Loved it. Coochie book is nasty. Fated Breed is about a member of that pack falling in love with the human vampire's best friend, who does not know that she is a witch. So we find out that she is a witch together, and there's a whole bunch of drama. It was cool. Again, Coochie book, they was nasty. I had a grand time. Next, 90s Love and Callie. This is by authoress Masterpiece. Y'all know that I love Masterpiece. She is super sweet. I love her. Love her. 90s Love and Callie is about a couple. The book is very nostalgic. It's given every vibe of like the movies we grew up watching in the 90s. Like, it's giving Baby Boy, it's giving Poetic Justice, it's giving like all of those vibes and feels. Okay. The female main character finds out that her boyfriend got her best friend pregnant. She breaks up with him, and it leads to her trying to find herself and figure life out, right? Like, it's kind of one of those situations where like she always knew he won't shit, but the reality of it, and then to be betrayed by her best friend. So she is trying to find herself, get her money together so that she can move and do what she wants to do, and then she meets someone who is fine as hell. I will say this one isn't as nasty as other masterpiece books, but I feel like in this one she is flexing her writing skills, right? Like, she's a good writer. She tells a good story, and she can do that without all of the raunchy sex, right? Like, that's an added bonus. So if you like Masterpiece because of how raunchy the sex scenes are, I say you need to read this because you'll get to see her talent. There are some spicy scenes, but it's not going as far as she normally does. So there's that. Then I read Drew, The Ruthless One by Nick Mills. This was just okay. It tells the story of the son of a kingpin who his father dies, and he's next in line. In turn, he finds out that his father and his uncle were dabbling in some suspicious business, and that leads to him buying this girl that ends up saving. It was okay. The story was cute. There is the trope of like the virgin being saved by the drug dealer, violent nigga, you know, and I don't necessarily like that. I don't like the whole virgin trope. That bothers me, and it's in most of the books like this, but whatever, we can get over it. Next we have Rebound. This is by Kamisha Shireen. Kamisha. I don't know, friend. If you're watching this, I apologize. Rebound, Enemies to Lover, Entanglement. This reminds me of a Casey Mills book that I read before. I can't remember which one it is, but it is a basketball player who his career kind of goes to shit because he makes a bunch of bad decisions. His life, he's going through some stuff, which in turn, he needs a PR person to get his life in order so that he can get back to making some monies. The PR person, she also got some stuff going on in her life, so they both is going through a whole bunch, and it's very much enemies to lovers, which I love. Like, they hate each other. She has to live in his house. He doing all kind of crazy stuff, got women in the house, she busting in the room like, get this bitch out of here. It was cute. Wasn't the spiciest. I wouldn't necessarily consider it a coochie book. I would say that it leans more towards contemporary romance. But a coochie book that I have for you is Sex and Rescue by A. Blossom. I guess kind of enemies to lovers with this one. They used to be in a relationship. They break up for a reason. She's gonna get remarried. They end up stuck in an elevator together, and baby, he fold that lady up like origami in that elevator. Do you hear me? Oh, he just couldn't help but put his mouth on her. My God, today. Next, 24 Seconds From Now by Jason Reynolds. This is a YA. This is perfect for your older teenagers. So I would say 15 to 18 years old. It tells the story of a young man trying to prepare for his first time with his girlfriend and how anxious he is, and he's asking for advice, and he's just in love, and they both want to do this thing and trying to figure out the right place and the right time and all this other stuff. I think the part that I liked about it was that, one, it didn't depict the teenagers as dumb and ruthless, which I feel like a lot of adults tend to do. Like, a lot of people that write YA tend to write these teenagers that are very aloof And I feel like that's just not true. Like, they may come across that way to us because we have life experience, but they're not dumb. They just don't have the language. Like, I feel like y'all have unrealistic expectations for teenagers. But this was a really good book, and I think it might be something that's good to read with the teenagers that are in your life, to let them know that, like, sex is normal, and if you are going to do it, you need to be responsible about it, and you really need to think about the decision that you're making, because one false move and it could get sticky. No pun intended with that one, but anyway. Next, we have Leak It. This is also an A Blossom. I read a lot of A Blossom this month. This is a poly romance where a girl goes on a cruise. She ends up having a threesome with twin brothers. And the video ends up getting leaked, but then she runs into them again. Like, they end up being neighbors after the video gets leaked, and some more stuff happens. I ain't gonna ruin it for you. You should just read it. It was cool. It was cool. Next, we have Just for Tonight by Rosie Adams. This one might be a good pick for your holiday season reading, if you guys want something for New Year's in particular. So this is about the friends of a couple falling for each other. So the female main character has been single for a long time, and she had made this promise that she was going to be celibate and single until she found the one and did dating the right way and that whole thing. But her best friend is getting married, and the best man is fine as hell, and he is the best friend of her best friend's husband. So she's like, he fine, like, as all get out, but I don't want to mess with him because I don't want to make it awkward. Like, if things don't go as planned, like, I don't want to make it awkward because, you know, whatever. Yeah, they end up punching. That's all I'm gonna tell you. It's a coochie book. It was good. I actually want to read more by Rosie Adams. Then I read What I Ate in 1 Year and Related Thoughts by Stanley Tucci. I listened to the audiobook. Thank you to Libro FM for the audiobook arc. I really enjoyed this book, and I feel like if I were to ever write a book, because y'all are always asking me that, and that is not my intention, if I was to ever write a book, it would be in this style of just this matter-of-fact me and my thoughts type situation. I will say, if you don't like Stanley Tucci, if you don't care about food, if you don't care about what Stanley Tucci is doing day to day, this is not the book for you. I feel like this is a very, very, very niche book that I enjoy, because I don't mind listening to Stanley Tucci talk. I like him. I like how monotone he is. He's kind of a grumpy Italian. I like that about him. I could totally see someone picking this up thinking that they're going to get something profound from a memoir, and this is not that. This is not that. It's very niche, like very, very niche. Then I read 2 books, so I'm going to talk about them in order. So Trickin' is a Treat by Brienne Denay is a Halloween novella where a girl makes a wish and she ends up having a very, very spicy night with a creature. I'm not going to tell you what kind of creature, but then they end up going their separate ways, and she's kind of sad about it. Midnight in the Grove is a follow-up where she figures out why they ended up having to go their separate ways. She learns more about the type of creature that he is, and it's spicy. It's real spicy. I like creatures. Whenever people be like, oh, hear me out, I'm attracted to, mine is always venom. And y'all nasty ass heifers gonna say, oh, it's because of his tongue. It's actually because he's big and he's funny. I really love him. Oh my God. So I enjoy black creatures. Like, I enjoy stories about black creatures. I just enjoy it real bad. So that's all that I read for the month of October. And I'm trying to get in the habit of doing this with these videos just to show you where I'm starting the next month at. But I'm starting November with my first James Baldwin book, which is Another Country. And I will tell you right now that Rufus is in fact a what? Doofus. He don't got, it ain't one good decision making skill. Not one. Okay? But if you want to know more about my weekly reading, you should be watching the weekly vlogs. So subscribe to my channel. You should join the Discord, the book club Discord. I do weekly reading updates a few times a week. I put a lot of recommendations in there also as well. And follow me on Instagram and my other socials. I'm always across the social media streets talking about books. Okay? Let me know down below, have you read anything that I mentioned? Or will you be adding any to your TBR? I know I keep blowing a hole in your TBR. I'm sorry, cousin. I love you. I do. But reading is good for you. Okay? It's good for you. If you've made it this far in the video, leave a black heart. Because if you don't, I'll knock all this shit over. No, I won't. But leave a black heart. I love you. You are kind. You are smart. You are important. Important. You are important, if to no one else, to me. Bye, friends.